Hey, what's going on, guys? So this video is going to be a redo of one of the videos I did a little while ago. I accidentally deleted it off my channel, so I thought I'd redo it for you. And that's going to be my magazine disconnect safety removal for my Smith & Wesson M&P. So first of all, the firearm's clear, and I have 2 mags on the table with 1 snap cap in each. So first of all, why do I want to remove my magazine disconnect safety? Or actually, on the other hand, what is magazine disconnect safety? Pretty much what it is it's a way of preventing you from firing the gun unless there's a magazine inserted into the mag well. So close the chamber again, it's empty. I'll pull the trigger and you won't hear it click. Insert a magazine, and you do. So now, the reason why I decided to remove it is there's a few different reasons. One, I like to do dry practice and I can't get a trigger break without the mag inserted into the gun, and I like to do it without a mag. Another reason, your mags typically don't drop free like they should. And another one is field stripping the firearm. For striker fires, as most of you know, you have to disengage the sear. On M&Ps there is a little lever you can do, but like on Glocks it's just a lot easier to make sure it's clear and pull the trigger to remove it. And you can't do that here. So the first step you have to do to remove it is obviously field strip the firearm. So in here I'll show you what I mean by that. Usually you just pivot your takedown lever, pull the trigger to disengage the sear, and it can slide off. It doesn't do it here, so you have to insert the mag, pull the trigger, take the mag out, and then you can slide off the slide. So then you set your slide aside, and you want to take out your rear pin. For that I'm using a 3/32 punch, and just a roll of tape to support it, and a small hammer. A little bit more. You could set that pin aside for now. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pry up your sear housing block. So take that same punch and just set it in between the little ledge there and the frame, and then just slide that up. You'll get to a point where it doesn't want to come out anymore, then you pull the trigger and it'll pop right off. One thing you do want to take note of, where the trigger bar engages the sear housing block, it's right in that gap there. I don't know if you can really see that, but you want to take note of that because you're going to have to make sure that that's the same way when you put it back. Then you can set your frame aside. Now this is your sear housing block. So for an M&P, the green lever, that's your sear disconnect lever, and then this guy here, that's your magazine safety, or your magazine disconnect safety. So what it does, I don't know how well I'll be able to catch this on frame. Actually, I should have done it before I took it off. Sorry about that. But pretty much to remove it, you want to drive out this rear pin, or the lower pin there, and it should just be able to push out fairly easily. And set that aside, and then just take everything out of there. So there's going to be your magazine disconnect safety, a spring, your sear disconnect, and then a spring that should come out of there. And if you ever feel you're going to need to reinstall that, the correct way it goes is on your spring you should have one leg that's a little bit bent up and the other one's not. The one that's bent up goes into the little groove on your magazine disconnect safety like that. I don't plan on ever putting this back in unless I delete the video again and have to redo it. So I'm just going to put those in a little baggie. So now the next thing you want to do, you still have your magazine, or your sear disconnect, which you need to keep. That's the green one again, your pin. But you need a way to put pressure against your sear disconnect. So what a lot of people do, they take the springs out of ballpoint pens. When I talked to the guys at my local gun shop, they told me to use a disconnector spring in a AR-15 trigger, in a mil-spec trigger. So I did. It didn't quite fit right, so I cut about a coil and a half off the smaller side, the narrower side, and it seems to be working great. So you want to reinsert your what is that, the sear disconnect, like that. It should fit in there, something like that. And then you want to put your spring right in that gap there. So I'll try this a couple times on camera. If I can't get it, then I'll cut the feed and get back to you. Oh, that was actually easier than usual. Then you just want to align that spring with the pinhole that you have to put that pin back in. And put your pin back in. And again, that pin should be fairly loose fitting. And then you want to check if you have a positive click on your sear, which I don't know if you can hear that very well, but I clearly do. And then you just put the gun back together. So again, take your frame, realign that your trigger bar with your sear housing, pull the back end of the trigger to get it started. And then the biggest trick of this whole thing is realigning your sear housing block in your frame. It's not hard, it just takes a little bit of a finessing, I guess. And put that back in, and then test if it functions correctly. And now it engages the sear. As you can see, it's moving the sear down, whereas previously it was pushed off there and it would just bypass the sear. So once you know that it fits good, make sure your sear housing block is put all the way back down into your frame and drive that pin back through. And use a punch to line it up correctly. You really don't need to, but it's more of a personal preference. Alright, and again, function check, it works fine. And now just reassemble your firearm. And now, again, clear. I should have a click with no magazine in, and I do. And just to show you the difference in your freefall mag, now it actually drops. Whereas previously it would get stuck right about there because that lever would be pushing against the back end of your mag. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Any questions, feel free to like and share.